Caleb, I got a problem with Rick Barnes. Do we have that clip ready?
We have it ready. And this is in response to Rick Barnes being asked about Chaz Lanier having 9 rebounds against LSU the other night. So this is what Rick Barnes had to say when he was asked about that. You guys ready?
I'm ready.
Let's roll.
We like the fact that Chaz is doing that, but he needs to work harder to get about 8 more shots a game. And to do that, we want to get him more shots, but again, LSU I thought did a great job defending his first actions and what we were trying to get him into. And we were sloppy. We had some chances. I think that we could have probably got it to him with cleaner passes, but we didn't. But again, you always have to give your opponent credit for that when it doesn't happen. But Chaz is more than a shooter, even though I think we know he's a terrific, stand still, spot up shooter. But when he wants to drive the ball, he's proven he can do that. And the fact that you mentioned his rebounding, that's something he didn't do very much at the beginning of the year, and he's trying to impact the game different ways.
Okay, first of all, he is not going to take 9 more shots per game. He took 11. So you're telling me he's going to take 20 shots per game? That's too many. Second of all, here's a chance to commend one of your top players who I think has had a slightly disappointing season, Caleb. Not hugely disappointing. Still, I pointed out, I think he's in Dalton Connect shadow. Connect 4-time weekly SEC Player of the Year. Lanier 3-time. So I think he's undervalued and underrated by some Tennessee fans. But I just don't understand. This is a comment you make in December, Caleb, when you want to poke a guy and you want to get him going. This is not a comment you make who's trying to find his stroke, trying to find his confidence and taking it to the rack and finish like Connect did. This is not a comment you make heading into March.
All right, let me play the other side of you for a minute, because I actually might disagree with you a little bit. On 2 fronts. One, I don't even think Chaz Lanier has been disappointing this year. I think he's had a slightly disappointing SEC season, given what he showed us before SEC play, but in the conglomerate of what we thought he'd be, I think he's actually been better, particularly since Starling Stone Neubert didn't pan out to what we thought he was going to be to help out. I think Rick Barnes sees Chaz Lanier as a scorer, and he wants Chaz Lanier to do more to score the ball. This isn't anything new. Now, maybe it is something you say in December. As we know, Rick Barnes didn't get 4 years to work with Chaz Lanier. He's only gotten 1 as a transfer. But I distinctly remember after Chris Lofton had an All-American season in 05-06 and was clearly a better three-point shooter than J.J. Redick that year, what did Bruce Pearl do? And Tony Jones, who's been on a show, they went to Chris and said, you've got to learn to put the ball on the floor. You got to put the ball on the floor. You got to get to the basket because teams are going to learn to play you otherwise. And Chris Lofton responded. I think Rick Barnes is saying here, Chaz has got to put the ball on the floor. Chaz is taller and quicker than Chris Lofton. Why doesn't he put the ball on the floor more and drive to the basket to manufacture buckets?
I don't think he likes contact. But that you should have seen.
That's a problem.
Okay,
that's a problem.
You should have seen that when you're evaluating him. You should have said, got us a spot up shooter, but don't have a connect.
It's hard to determine that because let's just be honest. There's not a lot of 6'9" to 7 foot guys at the level Chaz Lanier was playing with. So he may not be scared of contact under the basket from a 6'5" guy. Maybe he doesn't like contact from a 6'9" to 7 foot guy. But he's got to be able to embrace that contact. You're a scoring guard. You can be a spot up shooter. You've got to be able to get to the basket some. And I think Rick Barnes is frustrated that Chaz won't get to the basket. He's been pushing this all year. Rick Barnes had to pull Chaz Lanier in January coming out of to open the second half because there was a play for Chaz Lanier to go to the basket and score, and Chaz Lanier passed up the shot. I mean, that is, look, it's been my issue with Chaz Lanier the whole year. He's not aggressive, and he doesn't show it the way he needs to. And that's why Rick Barnes has to go to Zakai Ziegler in crunch time.
Okay, but at some point you have to play the hand that you've been dealt, and you need to build him up. Matt says Rick has been preaching that all year about Chaz. I get it, but this is after he showed effort in getting 9 rebounds and was still the leading scorer as Tennessee got the win at LSU. Timothy says players are getting weak nowadays. Now, maybe perhaps if we can be realistic about this, Chaz Lanier is the star on this team. Is he as big of a star as Connect or as big of a star that you would like? Maybe not. But Chaz Lanier is the star of this team. I want him going into tournament time, which begins next week, right?
Yes.
Okay. I know it's SEC tournament, not the same thing. I want him going into tournament time with the highest level of confidence possible. I think this is another example of Rick Barnes being too hard on his guys, running him down. And I know that Rick Barnes's practices are extremely competitive. I would argue too competitive at times. But, and I know that he says all of this, the things that he says publicly, I've talked to people about this. The things that he says publicly, he says to the players firsthand. But again, the World Wide Web, the World Wide Interweb, his family's going to read that. It just creates a big opportunity for distraction. And I just thought it was out of line.
Okay. If Rick Barnes was saying that Chaz Lanier had this turnover here that was a problem, or he needs to be tougher on defense, or, is grinding him defensively like this late in the season, I would agree with you. He wants him to shoot more. The late Gene Hackman just passed away. The scene everybody's sharing from Hoosiers right now, the movie he was in, I think is the stupidest scene. It was like, this is such a great scene. It's so amazing. Principles over this. And I think it's the dumbest scene in sports movies history. R.I.P. to Gene Hackman. But it's the scene in Hoosiers where Gene Hackman has the rule of you have to pass 4 times before you shoot. That's how my offense runs. You pass 4 times before you shoot. There's a player who's hitting every single shot up the court. And Gene Hackman pulls him and puts him on the bench because he's not doing the 4 passes before he shoot. That's not what Rick Barnes is saying. Rick Barnes is saying, be that guy. He's giving you the green light. He's like, shoot, score. I want you to score, because guess what? 4 passes before shooting would be the dumbest offensive strategy in the history of basketball. Okay, so that's why it's a dumb movie. But score. He's giving you the green light. He's sitting there saying, when you have the ball, drive to the basket, shoot it, create shots. What he's really doing, Dave, is trying to develop Chaz Lanier into an NBA prospect. That's what he's doing.
I hope that there's a kindred relationship there. I hope that it's like a father-son thing, because I would be troubled if I'm Chaz Lanier's family. Just the fact that they absolutely keeps hammering at home. Travis says maybe Rick expects more because Chaz can give more. Well, at this point, why do we think he can? I mean, this is not November. This is February, late February into March. Adam says hard coaching isn't public criticism. I'd have to hear it for myself, but it seems a bit much. Okay, maybe I did not think I would be in the minority. I thought everybody would. Okay, so let's set it up as a poll question.
I've already set it up. Is Rick Barnes' criticism of Chaz Lanier not taking enough shots is nitpicking or good coaching?
Okay,
I think it's good coaching.
Okay, we'll tell you where that stands as we broadcast, and represented by Banks & Jones, Tennessee's trial attorney, broadcast from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studios. And I'll tell you about my car tomorrow, as I'm going to go ahead and finalize that purchase. Yes, Caleb?
Yeah, I want to address, because, you're saying if you're Chaz Lanier's family, you'd be upset about this. The biggest reason Chaz Lanier committed to Rick Barnes is he wanted Rick Barnes to develop him into an NBA prospect with a year left. That's why these stars at the lower level are committing to Rick Barnes. If that's the case, it shouldn't matter if it's November or February. You're wanting Rick Barnes to turn you into the NBA prospect you want to be. Well, that's what he does.
I don't care if he turns Chaz Lanier into an NBA prospect if I'm a Tennessee fan. I want him to turn Tennessee into the best team it can be heading into March. And Caleb, I don't think this serves that goal whatsoever.
Yeah, but you said if you're Chaz Lanier, you'd be upset. Chaz Lanier wants to go to the NBA. This is how you go to the NBA. I mean, they're not going to Dave, if you're an NBA team, Chaz Lanier's 6'4" and is not like the sharpest sharpshooter of sharpshooters. You're not taking Chaz Lanier as a spot-up shooter, are you?
No, but let me ask you this, Caleb. Did Vincent Yarbrough ever become aggressive?
No, and that's why he didn't become one of the best players in NBA history.
No, I agree. But at some point, you had to realize that that's just not who he is.
Well, if that's not who he is, he's not going to have a successful pro career. And this team's not going to be successful.
Who cares?
And this team's not going to be successful. They can't be successful unless Chaz Lanier is aggressive.
Okay, I would be pumping him up absolutely every chance I get. I would absolutely be pumping him up and telling him how great he is. And I don't understand not doing that. I just don't get it.
I'm sorry, but I don't think that's the best way to go about this. They need Chaz Lanier to go all in on. I mean, they need Chaz Lanier to be as aggressive as possible. I mean, they really need to take him. They really need him to take it personally. So,
this question from Unsung Dave: how many guys have you covered that could have been stars but gave mediocre effort in their career? Like 500.
and then there's some that gave no effort, like James Pierce. Not James Pierce. Not James Pierce. Not James Pierce. Not James Pierce. James Banks. James Banks.
He would probably be number one in my career. He would probably be number one. I cannot
NFL talent.
Yeah, I can't come up with. I'm sure there's a big guy. We think of big guys a lot because sometimes they carry too much weight.
Well, and it's hard to measure effort on big guys because some guys, big guys, give a lot of effort. They just aren't mean enough. They can't turn on that mean streak that you need.
Right.
To turn
Now,
on.
Matt also, thanks for this, Matt, says, Chaz quote yesterday, I just want to get a lot of praise to Coach Barnes. He's poured a lot of time and effort into me and a lot of love. He's somebody who I hold very dearly. And just the amount of love that he pours into us is very special. I'm not saying it's going to create an issue, but I'm just saying that I would be wary of the timing of it heading into March.
Wary of the timing of it?
Yes. You're just all about beat the players into the park.
No. If he was grinding him defensively, fine. No, he's saying what he's saying in this is we need you to shoot the ball more. And okay, I'll give you an example, Dave. You know what? Because you're a Celtics fan, you'll love this. Remember the 2011 finals meltdown LeBron had against the Mavericks? It's one of the most embarrassing finals performances I've ever seen from a superstar. Yes. The next year, they're in the Eastern Conference Finals, and LeBron plays like garbage again in Game 5, and they lose to the Celtics. Remember that? And you're a Celtics fan. You probably do remember that. Remember how much heat LeBron got from the media after that, and how people talk about how weak he was, how pathetic, how soft he was. What did he do after that? He went on the greatest playoff tear I think I've ever seen a player do. Mm-hmm. It was late in the season, but he needed to be beaten down.
Adam says, why didn't Barnes ever get on Josiah Jordan-James' case in public over being too passive on offense? Amen to that. Maybe it's because, okay, I'll give you credit, message board. Maybe it's because he sees more out of Chaz, and he knew that Josiah Jordan-James was a little bit limited in either his skill set or his mental approach to the game.